I want to talk about a subject that is kind of, I don't know, it's a feared subject. It's a big topic, in the Barndo community. Mold. This is a word that is brought up a lot. So one thing you need to know about mold is mold can occur in any home if the conditions are right. Mold needs three things to survive or to grow. Number one, it needs moisture, it needs a food source, and it needs a warm temperature. So these are some of the things that create the home or the environment for mold to grow. So barndos are often built with a metal exterior and a steel frame. So these are a little bit more susceptible to mold growth because of that. So you just have to have the knowledge of that and to know that going into it. Now, like I said, mold can grow in any home, but we need to be aware that the metal structure itself needs certain things to help prevent that. So here are reasons that mold can grow. Number one, condensation. Anytime there's a temperature difference between your interior and your outside, that can create an environment for mold to grow. One of the things that we use to combat that is to have proper insulation. So you don't want to go bare on insulation. And a lot of times in our steel frames, like on our living areas, we're wrapping that with the zip system so that all the exterior walls are more of a conventional method there. But so we're pretty well covered in that because all of our steel is surrounded by the zip system, the barrier that's there. And the steel frame sits on the inside of that. So that's a great protection. Now, also another thing that we do, like along our roof lines, is we'll use a closed cell foam and we'll spray all the underside of the steel to help create an additional protection so that you don't have any conduction from the heat transfer, and you're not getting any condensation through that metal. So you want to make sure all of your steel has some type of covering. So that will allow that and help. If you think about a Yeti cooler in that sense, the insulation is what keeps that condensation from happening. Number two is if you have any plumbing leaks or in your bathrooms, kitchen, or a damp environment from some type of an event, that will allow mold to grow. And especially if it keeps happening over and over again, that's a constant feeding food source like we're talking about. That would be a way that mold could grow. A lot of times you will see on the back sides of your cabinets in the kitchen areas and your bathrooms, we use a different type of sheetrock there, a mold resistant type rock, water board or whatever you want to call it, green board in those areas. I recommend you do that. And then number three is humidity is a big reason why mold grows in a barndominium. So I want to spend a little bit more time on this subject because, this is different depending on your climate in your territory. Now, in our area, we have more of what I call a dry heat in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. Even though it's sometimes, especially you get a good rain, you do have higher humidity. But when you're building an envelope in your barndominium and you have complete spray foam throughout, it's going to be a pretty airtight, package deal. So, and a lot of times adding additional humidity controls and things like that aren't necessary. You just want to have a proper HVAC system and run your manual J so that all of your load, you're allowing that system to run adequately. And so a lot of times when you're having spray foam, your HVAC system ends up being a little bit downsized compared to what you would have done in a traditional home. So instead of having a 4-ton, you have a 3-ton because you get a little more coverage for spray foam. On an HVAC system, you get more like 750, 800 square feet per ton as opposed to maybe 500 for a house that's not spray foamed. So those are things to consider when you're talking about humidity is what type of system are you going to use. So you can combat humidity in an area where you have high humidity by adding a dehumidifier on your AC unit, or you can also increase some of this by running a variable speed unit, allowing your system to run more. Now, those obviously add to your cost, but it's something that you could consider up front. Another thing you can do optionally later is you could just get a small dehumidifier unit and set it in your house or somewhere close to the return so that it's constantly pulling humidity out of your system. And you can get something like that for several $100 on Amazon if you had to. So that's not really a major concern if you have already done this. And it's also easy to add something on the back end of your unit later, even though it adds a cost to it. So humidity is a big reason why mold can grow in a barndominium. Number 4 would be a major event such as flooding, or like I said, some major plumbing events might happen. But if you're in an area that has a lot of water surrounding you all the time, such as the ocean, large lake, a moving constant, river, or you just have kind of a swampy area, these kind of things, you're going to have high humidity. So just know that you're dealing with that from the beginning. And you're going to want to promptly deal with any kind of major plumbing event or leak or whatever. So some things that, to cap this all off, things that you want to do to help prevent mold is you want to have regular cleanings and inspections. You want to promptly make sure that you address any events that happen in your home. You want to make sure you have proper ventilation as well, meaning your HVAC system, whether it's variable or whatever type of system, as well as dehumidifiers. And then I will add this to it, is make sure that you have plenty of insulation, because this is usually a factor that people might have by just doing bare minimum insulation and not being able to prevent some of that condensation that might happen in a leak, or I mean not a leak, but a normal condensation from happening in a steel structure. Now we add to that, we use the zip system to help create that barrier around, so it adds a little bit more R factor as well as protection from any condensation. So those are some things that you can do to combat against mold. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm Josh Helm, wishing you all the best. Thanks for watching. Texas Best.